Welcome. There you go. We can hand it over to each and one of you for this cleansing course. We're going to spend 4 weeks of cleansing. Cleansing, when we talk about the Qigong practice, is pretty important. But if you were to narrow your practice down in Qigong to make it really as simple as you can, then you've just got two aspects really of your Qigong practice. One is the Yun Qi, the circulating energy, and the other part is the Yang Qi, which is your nurturing energy. So if you can nurture your energy, then this is a very useful thing, just the same way as you would nurture a plant when it's growing. And the nurturing part of the energy includes the building and the nourishing. So the terms cleansing, building, and nourishing are terms that Sifu Wang introduced to Qigong in order to separate and made it easier for learning experience. It wasn't actually in the Qigong classics written down as cleansing, building, and nourishing. It was circulating energy and nurturing energy. But the circulating energy will include an aspect of building and an aspect of cleansing. And the nurturing energy is going to include an aspect of building and nourishing. But they're not separate terms. We can't really separate it. When you're cleansing your energy, you're going to be building some energy as well. When you're building your energy, you're going to be cleansing. When you're nourishing your energy, there's going to be a bit of building and a bit of cleansing. So why practice it separately? Well, the way that Sifu explained it to us was that when you go about practicing your Qigong, if you build too much energy right at the start and there's a lot of blockages in the body, it's going to compound these blockages and makes it very uncomfortable for you to practice. And that's what he termed as over-cleansing. We're going to talk about that as we go through these 4 weeks. What we want to avoid is overtraining and over-cleansing. So if you prepare the way, first of all, just the same as if you're decorating or going to put some plants down in the garden, you prepare everything first of all, and this makes the next part you're going to do much better, much easier. Yeah. So in the cleansing, we want to clear the meridians. We want to clear away physical blockages. We want to clear away emotional blockages. We want to clear away mental blockages as well. Yeah. I don't mean that you've got to clear everything away 100%, but we just got to clear enough away so it makes the experience of building and nourishing comfortable. We don't want the experience to be too uncomfortable. Yeah, does that make sense? So when you think about what it is that you're going to work with your cleansing, we want to, well, let's backtrack that for a moment. When we look at what we've already practiced and learned so far since January, we worked on the relaxation techniques and then the circulating energy. And the reason I did it that way was so that people could get much more skillful, much better with the absence of unnecessary tension, much better at working in a way where they didn't put too much effort into trying to get everything right and perfect, where they didn't push and strive too much to make energy happen. Because it's very easy to do that, especially using the mind and intention. But if we break your practice down into that Jing and the Qi and the Shen, the mind aspect is the most important part of your training, but that's the easiest part as well, to push a little bit too hard. We can push it too hard with our ideas, with our intention, with our desires, yeah, with our beliefs, with what Sifu would call wrongful thinking. Yeah, he would use the term wrongful thinking. No, that's just wrongful thinking. Yeah. In another way, we could say that's unhelpful thinking. Yeah. It's a bit softer, isn't it? A bit kinder. Unhelpful thinking, not wrongful thinking. Because it's like, what have I done wrong? I feel bad about myself, and now suddenly the Qi's getting stuck and blocked. So when we look at cleansing, I think we need to look at the practices that we do in Qigong, the level in which we're practicing and the depth that we're practicing, what we're doing with our mind in terms of the intention, and how much of the cleansing process works outside of your training as well. Because you're going to have cleansing inside the training, and you're going to have the cleansing outside of the training as well. The opposite side to that is, if you're doing Qigong cleansing and things are clearing out the way, but your life is out of balance, then you may find that this part of your training is really not helping you at all. Yeah. And that this is adding more unnecessary tension, more blockages, more disharmony, more dis-ease than any amount of cleansing can handle. What happens or tends to happen then is that people strive more here in the training in order to deal with this here, when it's actually this that needs to be dealt with and addressed. What is it that we're doing in terms of our work, our relationship, our environment, our food, our intake of fluids, our exercise? What is our views? What is our self-talk? All of that stuff that influences how smooth your energy is going to flow. Yeah. Does that make sense? There's little point in trying to do all this cleansing if all of this is going to just delete all of your goodness from your training as well. If you've been training Qigong for some time and you're doing the Qigong, but things still go wrong, yeah. It's like wrong, like magma. They go wrong. Yeah, it's not really wrong, is it? But it could be viewed in our mind that, oh no, all these things have gone wrong in my body. I'm doing this Qigong and it's not actually working. What is wrong with my training? What is wrong with me? This Qigong stuff doesn't work. Then we need to look at what is actually happening, maybe with a different viewpoint as well. Qigong is not magic. Yeah. No amount of training is going to sort out everything in our life. I think if you've been training long enough, you will come to that realization. It doesn't mean that Qigong can't overcome illness or dis-ease or disharmony, because it can, given the right training, the right environment, and the right amount of time. But if something's already gone beyond, it doesn't matter how much cleansing you try and do, you can't reverse the thing if it's already gone beyond. Yeah. Does that make sense? So imagine that you're approaching something that is getting close to being beyond, but the other things in your environment are changed, the relationships changed, the views are changed, maybe your job has changed, maybe where you live has changed, maybe what you're eating and drinking has changed, all these things that are most conducive, good energy flow. Then there's a chance that these things can be reversed and your Qigong is going to help support those things. What we can be sure of is if we don't have something in our life that clears these things out of our life, then we're going to accelerate ourselves to dis-ease. We're going to accelerate ourselves to disharmony. Yeah. Because that's going to happen with unhelpful thoughts, unhelpful beliefs, unhelpful habits, unhelpful lifestyle. Yeah. You have all of these things, or some of these things, it's going to accelerate. So what happens if we've already gone beyond? Does it mean that the training then is a waste of time? No, of course it doesn't. Yeah. There's a number of levels in which you can work on cleansing. So when we think about cleansing, let me just check in with you what your understanding of cleansing is. Yeah. And the levels in which you can cleanse at. So pop it into the chat or open your mic. So open your mic, and so we can get a collection of understanding here. So Jacqueline, and then I'll come to Matthew.
That's the releasing blockages.
Releasing blockages. Yeah. So let me write these things down so I can reflect them back to you as well, okay? And then we can investigate this to see whether or not these things are true and what we can do about them, because that's the idea, isn't it? We've been doing a lot of training over the last couple of years, and I don't want to fill you with more information. What I really want to do is look at what we already know and see if we've got a common understanding of it, and if we need to tweak and change anything in order to take us deeper into our practice to be more helpful. Yeah. So I'm not going to reinvent the wheel with cleansing, but hopefully I'll give you a new insight and another way of looking at these things that you may have forgotten or haven't considered. Yeah. And that you've got safe passage through cleansing. Some people worry about cleansing. Oh my God, it's like, whoa, what's happening? I'm cleansing too much. Am I not cleansing enough? Should I be cleansing more? Yeah. We'll address all of these things as we go along. Matthew.
So I agree with Jacqueline that I believe it's clearing blockages, and I'll just add to that and say that it can be at the different levels, so physical, emotional, mental, spiritual.
Yeah, Sika talks about karmic as well. Would you include karmic as the same as spiritual, or different to spiritual, or similar?
I guess I would have in years gone by I would have considered it separate, but my current sort of worldview would really say that karmic could be any of those, but it's in a different kind of past life, or because it could be at a spiritual level, it could be emotional, mental. Probably unlikely to be physical, although the physical aspects could still come through, couldn't they? So
yeah, if it's like you've done something yesterday, overworked your body at a physical level, and today the karmic result of that is that you've got a lot of held tension within the body. Yeah. So then it doesn't need to be at a spiritual level, it can be at a very much a mundane level. So this is one of the ways we can look at karmic. Sometimes karmic's looked at as it's just what we bring through from other lifetimes. But we can look at karmic as in, I've just stubbed my toe and my toe hurts. It's nothing about me having my toe chopped off in a previous life.
Yeah. Cause and effect.
Cause and effect, that's right. Exactly. Yeah. But often when we talk about karma, people think about past life karma, yeah. But it can be very much here and now, cause and effect, and we can address that, we can deal with that, we can make this stuff of clearing very real. Yeah. So I've also got disharmony in life force, Kate. Yeah. And Pascal. Thank you, Matthew.
I always like when you refer to stuff, as in stuff being in the way of things moving smoothly. And this stuff could also be things that don't serve us anymore. So then it needs sometimes a bit more attention for it to be let go or get out of the way.
Yeah. Stuff. It's easier sometimes to call it stuff, isn't it? Rather than label it as something which it may not be. So yeah, in the past, I've often referred to this as stuff. That stuff that you've got blocked. Well, let's work on that, because it's interesting then when we sort of disassociate from this thing that this is mine, yeah, and it's just something that's happened in the body that might have happened, as Matthew said as well, the different levels, at the physical level, the emotional level, could be a mental stuff, couldn't it? Could be a combination of emotional, mental stuff that's shown up as a physical stuff. And it gives us an opportunity to then really see things as they are and then clear those things in terms of release those things, not hold on to those things, not identify with those things, or use circulating energy, yeah, or imagination, or tapping into cosmic energy. There's going to be various ways of doing this that we're going to work through over the next 4 weeks. But rather than using just like this umbrella, I'm going to cleanse everything unknown. Yeah, you go into this space, Almighty, cleanse me. making demands on the cosmos to cleanse all of our stuff. No, we got to take responsibility for it. Yeah, we got to take responsibility for this stuff. So, Ronald, can I share any of that stuff? We came through.
I have even a more tangible example. So I had a very strong shock at work, and suddenly I went to the kitchen. I took my hands and said, could you please give this back to where it came from? And suddenly my lung energy was much better. And I was surprised because normally with cleansing, you think about doing Qigong patterns or Qigong movements, but the intent was there.
I didn't catch that very last part. The what was there?
So normally with cleansing, you think about Qigong movements.
Yes.
It was basically holding something softly with intent and saying, give it back to where it came from.
Yeah. Yeah. So returning things, yeah. Returning and letting go. Literally physically. And I think this is an important part of the cleansing as well, is that, yes, we could think about it as we've got to do a Qigong pattern in order to cleanse, and then go into a Qi flow, and then come into the stillness. And only then will we cleanse all these things, be purged of our sins, yeah, purged of these things. But it can be very practical, really very practical as well. So over the next 4 weeks, what I'd like you to do, what I'm inviting you to do, is to consider the things that create the blocks and just see whether or not they're necessary in your life. Yeah, are they worth still pursuing? Is it worth holding on to those things, or can you let them go, adjust or change them? And if you look at this, as we have done it since January, the physical, the emotional and the mental. Yeah, just have that as like your radar of things. What is happening physically, what's happening emotionally, what's happening mentally. Yeah. Of course, everything's energy, and we can look at things from the energetic point of view, tune into the energy. And we could say that this is a spiritual thing that I need to work on as well. But generally, that gets taken care of when we address the physical, the emotional, and the mental nature of ourselves. Jake?
So that all makes a lot of sense and is interesting. And also with emotional stuff, I find that sometimes I, don't know quite what the roots of it is. Historical stuff, but I couldn't necessarily pin it down and say, okay, well, so it's this. I'll think, I'll have the intent to let it go, because I don't really know what I'm letting go, if you see what I mean.
Okay.
Some stuff. So yeah, curious about that.
Yeah. This is actually very easy, but it's an important point that you brought up, because we're talking about the difference between cause and effect. Yeah, that we don't need to know what the cause is in order to change what's happening now. We don't need to know whether or not it was something that somebody said to us when we were 4 years old, and now I'm carrying this through into my life now, and I must clear that thing back then. Yeah, we don't need to know that. Are you holding it in your body right now? Let it go. Yeah, it really is as simple as that. Yeah, you can let go of what's happening now, because it's the only place that we can truly exist. This is the very Zen aspect of our Qigong practice, is that we're living in the here and now. We're not living in the past. So although we have this term of, oh, you're still living in the past, it's just because you brought your past into the now. Yeah, or you brought your future into the now, and it's disturbing your harmony. It's disharmonious because of the way that we associate with it. Our views, our thoughts. But energetically, we can clear those things in the now. We don't have to bring them with us. We certainly don't need to from a Qigong perspective. And Sifu is very clear on this. We don't need to know what the cause is. Yeah? Unless, of course, it was like nail in the head. If you've ever seen the video, yeah. If you've got a nail in your head, don't try and blame it on karma. yeah, or that you're not spiritually advanced enough, or that people just aren't getting you, or they don't understand you, or they're not listening to you. You've got a freaking nail in your head, take it out. Yeah. So look at what is obviously happening here and now, physically, emotionally, mentally, what is happening right now. And then you can release that. That's the very beautiful thing about the Qigong in terms of cleansing. It makes it very simple for us. So if energy is everything, and more energy sounds like a good thing to have, is that the thing that we want to do in terms of cleansing first? Do we want to build more energy first, or do we want to clear things out? Surely if we have more energy, it can push through the blockage. Yeah. Isn't that a good thing? Is that a good thing?